Whether you've iced sneakers once, twice, or 1,000 times, you're doing it wrong. And I'm gonna tell you why. Welcome to my new restoration series, You're Icing Wrong. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I really appreciate you being here today for another episode of Sailboats Restorations. Today I'm introducing a new series called You're Icing Wrong. The reason why I'm bringing this series out is because I wanted to introduce to you guys the best methods of icing your kicks to keep them looking as crispy as possible for as long as possible. One of the main comments that I see in my videos is, don't waste your money on sole sauce when you can just get Salon Care 40 Volume Creme for way cheaper in a much larger bottle. Well, I agree that Salon Care 40 Volume Creme does a great job when it comes to icing your kicks. There are a ton of sole sauces out on the market, so my goal for this series is to figure out which one you should invest your money into to provide the best results in the shortest amount of time possible. What we're gonna do today is we are going to compare Salon Care 40 Volume Creme to Angelus Sole Bright. These are two of the most widely available sole sauces out on the market, and I think that it's a really good starting point to compare the two of them so you guys have a better understanding of which one I think works the best. Since this is the first video, let me walk you guys through the process that I utilize when it comes to icing my soles so you have a better understanding of exactly how I do it and how I will continue to do it throughout the entire course of this series. Without further ado, let's hop right into it. Obviously, before I get into the actual icing procedure, I need to do a comparison between the left shoe and the right shoe so you guys have a better understanding of what they look like prior to icing them. And you can see that these Yeezy Beluga 2.0s are pretty severely yellowed. They've been really heavily worn, and you can see that they are looking pretty nasty, quite honestly, on both sides. The yellowing is about even on both sides though, so at least we're going to be able to have a pretty fair comparison to see what these two sneakers look like after the icing process. Now that you guys have seen the soles, it's time to actually get into the icing process. So let's start to do that. So one of the most important things when you're getting started is to make sure that you're prepped completely before you start with the process. I like to have all my materials laid out in front of me. You're definitely gonna need some plastic wrap, some saran wrap of some sort. Of course, you'll need your icing materials for sure. You'll need something to apply your icing materials. I personally like to use an old toothbrush, but you're definitely more than welcome to use a paintbrush. You're going to 100% want some sort of gloves, whether they be nitrile, vinyl, or latex, and you're gonna want some sort of towel or blanket or protective surface over the actual table that you're working on. What I like to do is get my table prepped and have my plastic wrap ready to go in sheets that are going to be large enough to cover the sneakers completely. Once I have my plastic wrap, I'm ready to go and start to actually get the sauce on my kicks. Now, it may seem kind of silly, but actually utilizing gloves is very important because these chemicals are very harsh and they will definitely cause chemical burns on your skin if you're not careful. For this series, I'm going to be doing every single left shoe utilizing my Salon Care 40 Volume Creme, and that will be our control. And I'll be testing the right shoe against the test subject, which in this case is going to be our Angelus Sole Bright. I'm going to start off by applying the Salon Care 40 Volume, and what I'll do is just get my shoe prepped. I flip it upside down, and I'm going to apply a very small amount of Salon Care 40 Volume Creme to the bottom of the shoe. Now be careful when you're applying this because it is very runny. Different sauces will have different consistencies, so you want to make sure that you're only using a little bit at a time so you can move it around in a controlled fashion. Now all I'm gonna do here is take my toothbrush and I'm going to spread a nice even layer over the entire sole of the shoe. In this situation, because there is some yellowing on the boost, I am going to apply the sauce over the boost too. I've never personally had any issues with sauce destroying or damaging boosts, so I think in this situation, it's okay. Now keep in mind you don't want to cake on your sauce, because if you utilize too much sauce, you're gonna run through it very quickly, and you'll come to find out that, especially when you're buying some of these specific sauces, they are actually a little bit expensive, and you definitely don't wanna waste any of your sauce by having it drip off the side of the shoe. And again, because this is a somewhat harsh chemical, we don't wanna get any sort of sauce on the uppers of the shoe, because it could definitely cause damage to the uppers, and that's something that we want to avoid by all means necessary. You don't want your sauce to be layered too thick, but you also don't want it to be super thin either. Make sure that you're applying liberally and evenly while not overutilizing the sauce. Now, just to give you an idea, Salon Care 40 can be purchased on Amazon, and it comes in a 32-ounce bottle for $10.49, which comes to a breakdown of 32 cents per ounce. So it's actually relatively cheap, which is really nice, especially if you're trying to ice your kicks on a budget. Now, in the case of these kicks, I am going to apply a very light layer on the portion of the sole that kind of wraps up and encapsulates the boost, but I think that this will help to actually bring back a little bit more life to it and make it look even better. This is not necessary on all shoes, especially if it's just the sole that is yellowed, and you definitely don't want to be doing this on shoes that have painted midsoles. If you do get a little bit of sauce on the uppers, don't fret too much, but make sure that you wipe it down as quick as possible, which is another reason why having a towel on the table comes in handy, because then you can just utilize that towel to wipe down some of that excess sauce if you need to. Now that I have a nice even layer of sauce on the bottom of this shoe, I'm gonna go ahead and throw some saran wrap over it and kind of cover the top while making sure that the saran wrap doesn't actually push the sauce onto the uppers of the shoe. Try to be gentle during this process and lay down the saran wrap so that it sticks into place and doesn't slide around. Now, once I have my plastic wrap secured to the bottom of the shoe, all I'm going to do is very gently and carefully flip the shoe, and I'm going to wrap that cling wrap onto itself so that it kind of sticks around the uppers of the shoe and secures itself in place. Once we get this sauce underneath the light, it's going to start to evaporate with time and heat. So especially if you're doing this in an outdoor situation and it's warm out, you want to be especially careful, because that sauce is going to evaporate rather quickly and therefore lose its effectiveness. It's very important to avoid excessive heat, because that can actually cause the glue between the midsole and the uppers of the shoe to break down. The bottom of the shoe should look somewhat like this, and you'll see that along the midsole portion, if you want to call it that, there's just a little bit of sauce that does not come up onto the upper. Now that we finished with the Salon Care 40 shoe, I'm going to put it off to the side for the time being, and we're going to work on the right shoe with our Angelus Sole Bright. Same exact process as what I did with the Salon Care 40. And you can see that this is a little bit of a thicker sauce actually, and it's kind of more creamy consistency. It is pretty thin, so you need to be pretty careful as to not pour excessive amounts on. Make sure that when you're doing this that you utilize kind of an older, crappier towel. It will definitely cause those fibers on the towel to become damaged, and you might actually burn a hole right through them. You can see right there I utilized a little bit too much sauce and it kind of dripped over the edge there. I didn't lose too much of it, thank goodness. But again, it's just something that you got to be really careful of, because you do not want this sauce getting on the uppers of the shoes. Now, Angelus Sole Bright can actually be purchased right off of Angelus's website, but you can actually also find this on Amazon as well. It comes in a lot smaller of a bottle than the Salon Care 40 volume, and the bottle size is actually 3.9 ounces. Thing is, when you're buying Sole Bright, you're actually going to be spending just about the same amount on a bottle as you would be on the Salon Care 40 Volume Creme. A 3.9 ounce bottle of the Angelus Sole Bright sells for $10.97, so it's actually a little bit more expensive. This breaks down to about $2.81 per ounce. You can also buy a 2-bottle kit, which costs $17.50, which breaks down to about $2.24 per ounce. If I only need a little bit, I will go ahead and dip my brush in there, so then that way it makes it a little bit easier to control how I'm spreading it. I found that this is a really good method for me. It seems to work most of the time. This is approximately the same kind of coat that I put on the other shoe, so don't get it twisted. Even though this looks like it's a little bit of a thicker coat, I actually applied the Sole Bright in the same exact fashion as the Salon Care 40 volume. Now again, I'm going to keep that shoe upside down, and I'm going to very gently apply my cling wrap by just laying it down. Pat it gently to the bottom of the shoe, making sure that you don't spread any of the sauce in the process. Flip it over, and I'm just gonna secure that cling wrap right in place. It's going to hold the sauce in place, and it's going to make sure that it doesn't get dehydrated during the next step of this process. Now that I have my Salon Care 40 Volume Creme applied to the sole of the left shoe and my Angelus Sole Bright applied to the sole of the right shoe, it's time to actually put them in the icebox. I personally like an indoor setup because it helps me to control the temperature a little bit better, and like I said earlier, you don't want these shoes getting too hot, otherwise it can actually cause the bond between the upper and the midsole to break down because it will cause that glue to deteriorate a lot more quickly. I'm going to toss these kicks in the icebox for about 48 hours or so. I've found that sole sauce tends to stay hydrated as well as it's well wrapped. A lot of brands will tell you that you should reapply after every 24 hours, but I end up wasting a lot more sauce in that fashion, and I try to get the most bang for my buck. So if I can let these shoes sit for about 2 days, all the better. Let's go ahead and get the kicks into the icebox, and then we'll check in just a couple of days. Alright guys, so it's been about 48 hours since I put these Beluga 2.0s in the icebox. Now it's time to clean off the original sauce, reapply a new layer, and go ahead and stick them in for another 48 hours. Let's clean them down, take a quick comparison on how they look, and then we'll re-sauce them and get them back in the icebox. So again guys, during this process, I'm going to keep my hands protected using some of these gloves here. I just don't like getting that chemical burn type of sensation. It's really unpleasant and it sticks around for a while. It also kind of bleaches out your fingertips for a little while. For this part of the process, I'm actually going to use some paper towels just to wipe down the old sauce. The reason for this is because, again, the chemicals are pretty corrosive. They can actually eat through your towel or whatever it is that you're using to wipe down the shoes, and I don't want to ruin this towel that I'm using. I'm just going to carefully peel off my cling wrap, fold it up, get it out of the way, and then we're just going to wipe down. You guys might not be able to tell from that angle, but this shoe is looking a hell of a lot better than it was when I started. So all I'm going to do for this part of the process is remove the sauce with this paper towel here. I'm actually not going to rinse down the shoes, which is something that after I'm done icing, I will most certainly do. But the fact that I'm just going to be reapplying sauce here, I don't think it's completely necessary to wipe down all of the sauce that's on there. However, if I were going to be taking these shoes and putting them up for sale or wearing them or what have you, I would actually give them a pretty good clean down, quite honestly, utilizing some sort of sneaker cleaner. Now that we've removed all of the sauce, let's take a closer look at these kicks. So just a quick reminder guys, the left shoe was treated using our Salon Care 40 Volume Creme. The right shoe was treated using the Angelus Sole Bright. Let's take a quick look at the left shoe treated with the Salon Care 40. Now you can see that this shoe is looking substantially less yellow than when we first began. Although there is definitely some yellow that's kind of penetrated deeper into the sole, you can see that the Salon Care 40 Volume Creme did a lot to actually remove a substantial amount of that yellowing. You can even tell on the boost here that a lot of that yellowing has improved. So again, we're going to give this guy another 48 hours in the icebox using that Salon Care 40 and see what the final results look like. Taking a look at our right shoe here, again, you can see that this shoe has been substantially de-yellowed. It looks a lot better. Even the boost has been de-yellowed quite a bit, and you can actually see that on a surface level, it seems as though the Sole Bright was actually able to lighten these up a bit more. If we're gonna do a quick side-by-side comparison here, I think that that Salon Care 40 shoe actually looks a little bit more yellow. Even coming onto the heel, you can see at that thicker kind of heel pad there that the Salon Care 40 Volume Creme is actually looking a little bit more yellow at this point in time than the shoe that was treated with the Angelus Sole Bright. So overall, after one 48-hour session worth of icing, I would say that the Sole Bright is taking an ever so slight advantage. But we got one more 48-hour session before we make our final judgments on which product performed better. So let's go ahead, we'll reapply some of the sauce here, and then we'll get the shoes right back in the icebox again. Alright guys, these Beluga 2.0s have officially been in the icebox for another 48 hours. That makes it a total of 4 days. We gotta get the sole sauce wiped off of both of the shoes now, get them rinsed down with a little bit of water and some sneaker cleaning solution, and then we'll take our final comparison and see what the results look like. Alright guys, these Belugas are totally iced down and cleaned up at this point in time. They spent 48 hours in the icebox. The left shoe got that Salon Care 40 Volume Creme treatment. The right shoe got treated with the Angelus Sole Bright. Let's take a closer look so we can actually compare the two shoes and see which one looks nicer after 4 full days worth of icing. First, we're going to take a look at the left shoe, which again was treated with the Salon Care 40 Volume Creme. This shoe is looking a lot better than when we first started off. You can see in the boost there that it doesn't look nearly as dirty or nearly as yellowed, which is kind of cool. I was unaware that sauce worked that well on the yellowing on boost, and it doesn't appear like there's any sort of damage to the boost either. Now obviously in the front part of the shoe, there does seem to be some continued yellowing within this grid-like part of the pattern, but the edges look like they've been iced down really nicely. If we come over to the heel, you can see that around these thicker portions of the rubber, it definitely seems to be a bit more yellowed, but all along the edges there, you can tell the difference in comparison to when we first started. Coming over to the right shoe here, you can see that this shoe also looks substantially better. Now because of how fresh the icing job is and how strong that Angelus Sole Bright is, you can see that the more superficial portions of this sole still are kind of bleached out from the chemical reaction. That will go away with time. It's just going to take a day or two, and it's not something that I'm terribly worried about. I've seen it many a time before, and it's always gotten better within a couple of days. I would say that this grid area almost looks a bit lighter than the left shoe that was treated with the Salon Care. So I would say that the Angelus Sole Bright actually does a bit of a better job in tight areas like that. Back through the heel, still a little bit of yellowing, but I think that some of that yellow coloration is actually just because the sole's been worn down a little bit, so you can see through to the boost a little bit more, which kind of gives a more yellowed appearance. The boost material itself is also quite a bit whiter and looks a lot better. This heel portion here is still the most yellowed, unfortunately. I did try to apply some extra sauce in that area, but it just continued to remain yellow. Overall, this shoe is looking substantially better than when we first started. With a quick side-by-side comparison, I would say that this right shoe is definitely looking a bit better than the left shoe. So I would have to say that the Angelus Sole Bright did a little bit of a better job in icing the shoe than that Salon Care 40 Volume Creme did. Not only were the effects more efficient, but they also worked in a quicker period of time. At the end of the day, both products did what they were supposed to do in regards to icing the shoes. However, I think that there's an ever so slight advantage to the Angelus Sole Bright. Now, would that advantage justify the cost difference between the two? Quite honestly, that's something that I'll have to leave up to you guys. But I would say at the end of the day, the Sole Bright is a little bit more effective than the Salon Care 40 Volume Creme. I'm curious to hear what you guys think about this project though. Do you think one of these products worked a lot better than the other? And if so, which one do you think it was? At the end of the day, it's really up to you what you want to purchase. But I know that I'm personally looking for something that was designed for sneakers that's going to work the most efficiently and the most quickly at the best price point possible. At the end of this round, I'm going to say it's pretty much a draw because the price of the Angelus Sole Bright is so expensive in comparison to the Salon Care 40 Volume Creme, and it comes in such a small container in comparison, but it does tend to do the job a little bit more quickly and, in my opinion, a little bit more efficiently. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you guys have any suggestions or have any products that you think that I should compare against the Salon Care 40 Volume Creme, please don't hesitate to let me know in the comments so then that way I can try all the different products out there and really give you guys the most thorough review possible. If you guys liked what you saw in this video today, please click that like button and subscribe to the channel. It only takes 10 seconds to do it, guys, and seriously, it really helps to push this channel forward, so any sort of support that I can get is going to help to bring better content for you guys. If you guys are interested in any of the inventory that I have for sale or are interested in any of the other projects that I've been working on, take a look at the website at www.sailboatsupplies.xyz. As always, thank you guys that stuck around until the cold, bitter end of this video. And you already know, I'm Sailboat, and I'm out of here.